Okay, so if you're dealing with like tingling, burning, or numbness in your hands and feet, well, it's not just uncomfortable. It can really, mess with your life. And that's the everyday reality for a lot of people dealing with alcoholic peripheral neuropathy. But before we get into it, real quick, just a disclaimer, we're here to, dive into the science, but this is not medical advice. Always talk to your doctor, about your own situation.
Right, right. We're here to give you the knowledge, but your doctor is the one to go to for advice just for you.
Exactly. So welcome to Neuropathy Lab, where we like to break down all the complicated stuff about neuropathy. And today we're zeroing in on alcoholic peripheral neuropathy. So if you think you might have it or you do, this deep dive is for you. We're going to unpack what causes it, how it's diagnosed, and most importantly, what you can do about it.
Yeah, and we'll be sharing a tip later on that's helped a ton of people manage their alcoholic neuropathy symptoms, so stick with us for that.
All right, let's jump in. It's hard to get how alcohol can damage your nerves. It just feels like there's got to be more to it than it just being toxic. So help me out here. What's really happening like down at the cellular level?
Yeah, you're right. It's not that simple. It's more like a multi-pronged attack on your nervous system. First, alcohol itself, and stuff that's made when your body breaks it down, especially the stuff called acetaldehyde. It just damages the structure of your nerves, how they work, everything. It's like, imagine, alcohol messes up the balance inside your nerve cells, and then they can't send signals right.
So it's like alcohol is like messing with the wiring of my nervous system.
You got it. And to add to that, heavy drinking, a lot of times it leads to not getting enough of the good stuff, the nutrients, especially B vitamins that your nerves need. People who drink a lot often don't get enough of these, particularly thiamine, which is vitamin B1.
So not only is alcohol like hurting my nerves, but it's also stopping my body from getting what it needs to fix them. That's like a double whammy.
Exactly. And to make things even worse, alcohol messes with how your body absorbs and uses these nutrients, even if you are trying to eat healthy.
It's almost like setting yourself up to fail. And I know alcohol is hard on the liver, but what's that got to do with my nerves getting damaged?
Well, alcohol throws a wrench in the works for your stomach, liver, and kidneys, and that leads to all this waste building up in your body. And guess what? That waste can also damage your nerves.
So it's not just my liver taking a hit. It's like a whole body thing with consequences all over.
Right. And there's one more piece of this puzzle. Your genes. Research is saying that some people are just more likely to get alcoholic neuropathy because of their genes.
Oh, interesting. So like two people could drink the same amount, but one might get neuropathy because of their genes.
Exactly. It's a mix of things, and how likely each person is to get it plays a role.
Okay, so we've got the alcohol itself causing damage, then not getting enough nutrients, then the body's detox system being messed up, and then genetics on top of it all. I mean, no wonder this could be so bad. So how can someone even tell if they have alcoholic neuropathy? What are the warning signs?
That's the key, Catching the symptoms early is so important.
Let's talk symptoms then. What should people be looking out for?
Well, one of the tricky things is that alcoholic neuropathy usually starts subtly and slowly. You might miss the early signs. Maybe some tingling or numbness sometimes. That pins and needles feeling usually starts in your hands and feet.
That doesn't sound too bad. It's something people could easily ignore, especially if they don't link it to, how much they're drinking.
You're absolutely right. It's really important to pay attention to any changes in how things feel, especially if you drink a lot.
So those little tingles could be like an early warning.
Yeah, they could. And even though it usually comes on slowly, heavy binge drinking can make things happen a lot faster.
So it's like binge drinking is pouring gas on the fire of nerve damage.
I like that. That's a good way to put it. It basically overwhelms your system and speeds up the damage.
Gotcha. So gradual onset usually starts in the hands and feet, and binge drinking makes it worse. What else should people be aware of?
Well, the symptoms of alcoholic neuropathy usually fall into four main groups.
Okay, let's break those down. What's the first one?
Decreased sensation. We've talked about numbness and tingling, but it can get to the point where you lose feeling completely.
So you're saying someone might not be able to feel anything on their foot or hand. That's kind of scary.
It can be, yeah. And it's dangerous because, you might not notice if you get hurt or burned, and then things can get complicated.
I see what you mean. What's the second category?
Pain and hypersensitivity. And this is where things get really tough.
What kind of pain?
It could be anything from burning pain to just being more sensitive to pain in general. They even have a name for it. Allodynia.
Allodynia. Wow, that sounds rough. What would that feel like?
Like imagine even a light touch, someone just brushing against your arm, feeling like a searing burn.
Wow, that sounds awful. I can see how that would affect your whole life. Okay, two down, two to go. What's next?
Muscle weakness. As the nerves controlling your muscles get damaged, moving properly gets hard.
So even simple things like, I don't know, buttoning a shirt or walking become difficult.
Exactly. And you might get muscle cramps and lose coordination, which makes falling more likely.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, last category. What is it?
Autonomic problems. This is when the damage reaches your autonomic nervous system, which controls all the stuff you don't think about, like your blood pressure, digestion, bladder control.
So in bad cases, alcoholic neuropathy can affect all kinds of body functions.
Yep, the consequences can be pretty widespread.
This is a lot to take in. So if someone is experiencing any of this, what should they do?
The most important thing is to see your doctor if you recognize any of these symptoms. They'll figure out what's going on and help you find the best way to deal with it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But what happens at the appointment? How do they actually diagnose alcoholic neuropathy?
Your doctor's going to start by asking you a lot of questions about your health. They'll ask about your drinking habits, what you eat, any other medical conditions you have, all that.
So being honest is super important.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The more your doctor knows, the better they can understand what's going on and give you the right advice.
And I'm guessing they'll do a physical exam too.
Right. They'll probably check your reflexes, how strong your muscles are, your sensation. You know, those tingling and numbness tests you see on TV.
The classic neurological exam. And I bet they'll order some tests based on that, right?
You got it. Blood tests are usually the first step. They can check your overall health, see how your liver's doing, and look for any nutritional deficiencies, especially those B vitamins we were talking about.
So they're looking for clues about what's causing it and what's making it worse. What other tests might they order?
There are two tests that are really helpful for diagnosing alcoholic neuropathy: nerve conduction studies and electromyography.
Those sound pretty high-tech. What are they like?
Nerve conduction studies, they measure how fast electrical signals are moving through your nerves. It tells you how bad the damage is, if the signals are slow or blocked. Electromyography, or EMG, checks the electrical activity in your muscles to see if they're responding to signals from your nerves the way they should.
So these two tests together give a clearer picture of what's happening with the nerves and muscles.
Exactly. They give important information about where the damage is and how bad it is.
You mentioned before that sometimes they do a nerve biopsy. When would that happen?
Nerve biopsy is less common. They usually only do it if it's a really complicated case and they're not sure about the diagnosis. It means they take a tiny piece of your nerve to look at under a microscope. It's kind of a last resort for getting a definite diagnosis.
Okay, so once they've figured out that it is alcoholic neuropathy, what are the treatment options? What can someone do to deal with this and start feeling better?
That's a great question, and that's exactly what we'll get into after the break. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Neuropathy Lab. Before the break, we were talking about how alcoholic neuropathy is diagnosed. Now let's get to what I'm sure you're really interested in: treatment. We know this condition is complex, but is there anything people can actually do to manage it and, start feeling better?
Well, the good news is there are things you can do to manage it and have a better quality of life. But the most important thing is getting to the root of the problem, which is the alcohol.
So stopping drinking, or at least cutting back a lot, has to come first.
Absolutely, it's essential. Without that, other treatments probably won't work in the long run. It's like trying to put out a fire while someone's still pouring gasoline on it, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense. But I can imagine that quitting drinking is way easier said than done. It's not just a matter of willpower, is it?
Right, you're right. Alcohol use disorder is a complicated condition, and stopping drinking often takes professional help and support. There's nothing wrong with getting help. In fact, it shows strength.
So seeing a doctor, a therapist, or going to a support group is really important.
Absolutely. There are so many resources out there to help people who want to recover.
Okay, so dealing with the alcohol use is the first step. What else can be done to manage the symptoms and stop more damage from happening? You mentioned nutritional deficiencies before. Is that where supplements come in?
Yeah, exactly. Getting those important nutrients back is key, especially the B vitamins that heavy drinking depletes. Vitamin supplements, particularly B vitamins like thiamine, B6, and B12, can really help with nerve function and make symptoms less severe.
So it's like giving your nerves the building blocks they need to repair themselves and grow again.
That's a great way to think about it. It's about giving your body what it needs to heal.
And I'm guessing the dosage is important, right? Just taking some random B-complex vitamin from the store probably isn't enough.
You're right to be careful about that. It's super important to talk to your doctor before taking any new supplements. They can help figure out the right kind and how much you need.
Makes sense. Too much of a good thing can be a bad thing sometimes. What about pain management? We talked about how painful this condition can be. Are there safe and effective ways to help people deal with the pain?
Managing pain is really important, and luckily there are a few options depending on how bad the pain is.
What are some of the usual approaches for pain relief?
For mild to moderate pain, over-the-counter painkillers like ibuprofen or acetaminophen might help. But for more severe pain, your doctor might prescribe stronger medications.
What kind of prescription medications are we talking about?
Some medications that are often used are anticonvulsants, which were originally for seizures, and some types of antidepressants. These can calm down the nerves that are causing the pain.
So they're using these medications for nerve pain, even though they were meant for something else.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that not everyone reacts to medication the same way, so it might take some trying different things to find what works best for you.
That's where having a good relationship with your doctor is so important. They can help you figure out those options safely. What about physical therapy? Can that help with alcoholic neuropathy? I know it helps with other conditions, but I'm not sure how it would work here.
Physical therapy can be incredibly helpful, especially if you're having muscle weakness or problems with coordination and balance, which are pretty common with alcoholic neuropathy.
So what exactly does physical therapy for neuropathy involve?
It often starts with easy exercises and stretches to help you get stronger, more flexible, and improve your range of motion. It's not about intense workouts. It's about specific movements to help you function better overall.
That makes sense. And it's different for each person depending on their needs and what they can do, right?
Absolutely. A physical therapist will figure out your situation and come up with a plan just for you. They can also teach you how to improve your balance and avoid falls, which is really important if you're having trouble with coordination.
It's all about getting back in control and being as independent as possible, which is so important for quality of life. Are there any other treatment approaches that might help?
Sometimes your doctor might suggest using things like canes, walkers, or braces. These can help you move around better and be more independent if walking or balance is a problem.
It's about finding solutions that help people live their lives to the fullest, even with neuropathy. I know some people talk about alternative therapies like acupuncture and herbal remedies. Do those have a place in treating alcoholic neuropathy?
Some people do find that alternative therapies like acupuncture or herbal remedies help with their symptoms. But it's important to be cautious and talk to your doctor before trying anything new.
That's a good point. Not everything that's called a natural remedy is actually safe or effective. So doing your research is super important. What about research in general? Are there any new treatments on the horizon for alcoholic neuropathy?
There's a lot of exciting research going on, and some promising areas are emerging. For example, there's growing interest in the potential of antioxidants.
Antioxidants, like the ones you find in fruits and vegetables.
Yes, those are some examples, but there are also specific antioxidant supplements that researchers are studying.
So, remind me, what makes antioxidants so special?
One of the main ways nerves get damaged is through something called oxidative stress. It's basically an imbalance between free radicals and antioxidants in your body.
Okay, break that down for me. What are free radicals and what do they do?
Think of free radicals like unstable molecules that can damage cells, including your nerve cells. They're kind of like little troublemakers messing things up in your body. Antioxidants are like the superheroes that come in and neutralize those free radicals, protecting your cells from damage.
So it's like a constant battle between good and evil happening inside our bodies.
You could say that. And some studies show that certain antioxidants, like alpha-lipoic acid, might actually protect nerves and maybe even help them regenerate.
That's good to hear. It sounds like there's hope for repairing some of the damage. Are there any other promising areas of research?
Yes. There's also growing interest in the role of inflammation in alcoholic neuropathy.
Inflammation, like when you get a cut and the area around it gets red and swollen?
That's one type of inflammation, but it can also happen inside your body, even in your nerves. And this inflammation can make the nerve damage and pain worse.
So reducing inflammation could be another way to protect nerves and manage symptoms.
Exactly. Researchers are looking into the potential benefits of anti-inflammatory medications and supplements.
Are there any specific anti-inflammatory supplements that seem promising?
Curcumin, which is found in turmeric, has been getting a lot of attention because it might be anti-inflammatory and neuroprotective.
So that golden spice that everyone's talking about might actually be good for nerve health.
It's definitely something worth looking into, and research is still ongoing.
This is all really fascinating. It sounds like there's a lot of hope for people with alcoholic neuropathy.
There is. But while research is moving forward, it's important to remember that lifestyle changes and managing your symptoms are still really important.
Speaking of managing symptoms, you said earlier you had a special tip that's helped a lot of people with alcoholic neuropathy. Can you share that with us?
Sure, stopping alcohol is the most important thing, but one of the most impactful things people can do is address those nutritional deficiencies we talked about, especially with B vitamin supplements.
Right, we touched on that before. But what makes it so special? Isn't eating a healthy diet enough to get those nutrients?
A healthy diet is always good, but a lot of people find that even after they stop drinking, they still have symptoms. But when they start taking the right B vitamins, often in specific combinations and amounts, they notice a big improvement.
So it's like giving your body a jump start to heal.
That's a great way to put it. And it's not just people saying it helped them. Studies have shown that taking a specific B vitamin complex can really improve sensory symptoms like tingling and numbness.
That's good news for people dealing with those uncomfortable sensations. But you mentioned specific combinations and doses. Should people just pick any B-complex vitamin off the shelf?
It's always best to talk to your doctor before starting any new supplements. They can help you figure out what's right for you.
Makes sense. So getting enough nutrients, especially B vitamins, seems to be a key part of managing alcoholic neuropathy.
It's a simple but powerful thing that can make a big difference for people.
This has been really insightful. We've covered a lot today, from the causes and symptoms of alcoholic neuropathy to the importance of getting diagnosed and treated early.
We've looked at the different treatment options like vitamin supplements, pain management strategies, physical therapy, and assistive devices.
We've also talked about how important research is and the promising new treatments that are being developed.
But before we wrap up, there's one more important thing to mention: support.
You're right. It's so important to remember that you don't have to go through this alone. So where can people go for support and resources if they're dealing with alcoholic neuropathy?
There are some great organizations that can help. They provide information, support groups, and can even connect you with specialists.
Can you give us some examples?
Of course. The Western Neuropathy Association, or WNA, is a great resource for people in California, Nevada, and Oregon. They have support groups, educational materials, and a lot of information on their website.
And what about people who don't live in those states?
The Foundation for Peripheral Neuropathy is another excellent resource. They help people all over the country and offer support groups, information, and even a helpline to connect people with specialists.
So no matter where you live, help is available.
Exactly. And don't underestimate how helpful it is to connect with others who understand what you're going through. Sharing experiences and finding support can make a world of difference.
It's a reminder that you're not alone in this. Okay, so we've covered the basics of alcoholic neuropathy, what it is, how it happens, and the steps to manage it. But from all the research you've looked at, what were some of the most interesting or surprising things you found?
You know, what really struck me is that while the research didn't have any stories about people being totally cured of alcoholic neuropathy, it really emphasized how important nutritional deficiencies are.
Right, we talked about how crucial B vitamins are for healthy nerves. But did any of the studies actually look at how effective supplementation is?
They did. There was one study that specifically looked at how well a particular B vitamin complex worked for treating alcoholic polyneuropathy, and the results were pretty impressive.
Okay, tell me more. What did they find?
The study showed that this specific B vitamin complex, with or without folic acid, significantly improved sensory symptoms in the people who participated.
You know, this study really caught my attention because it wasn't just about any B vitamin, it was about a specific combination. What made this particular mix so effective? Is it because these vitamins work together in a special way? Or is there something unique about the dosage?
That's a great question. Unfortunately, the study didn't go into detail about why this specific combination works so well, but it does show that we still have a lot to learn about how nutrients and nerve health are connected. We definitely need more research on this.
Yeah, so even though we don't have all the answers figured out yet, it seems like, using the right B vitamins could really make a difference for some people. It makes you wonder, are there other nutrient combinations out there that could be just as helpful?
That's a really interesting thought. It really shows how much more research we need to do on how nutrition affects nerve health and repair. And it highlights that treatment plans really need to be personalized. What works for one person might not work for another.
For sure. And it brings us back to that important point. You really got to work with your doctor to find the best approach for you. You mentioned another study that stood out to you. What was that about?
Oh, yeah. Another study that I found really interesting looked at the dose-dependent effect of alcohol on nerves.
Dose dependent, you mean like the more you drink, the more damage it does.
Exactly. The research showed pretty clearly that alcohol is directly toxic to both the autonomic and peripheral nervous systems, and the more you drink, the worse the damage can be. It's a real reminder that every drink has consequences for your nerves.
That's, yeah, that's a little scary to think about. So it's not just about hitting some limit, it's about the damage adding up over time.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to catch it early. The sooner someone stops drinking or cuts back, the better chance they have of protecting their nerves.
It's a powerful message about preventing damage and, being in control of your health. It's never too late to make changes that can, really help.
I agree. While some nerve damage might not be reversible, there's still a lot we can do to slow it down and make things better.
This deep dive has been really eye-opening. We've gone deep into the science of alcoholic neuropathy, busted some myths, and explored a whole bunch of treatment options.
We learned that it's a complicated condition with lots of different factors involved, like how toxic alcohol is, nutritional deficiencies, and genetics.
But most importantly, we found out that there's hope for recovery, and that understanding what's going on is the first step towards getting your health back on track.
If there's one thing I hope people take away from this, it's that getting help early is so, so important. If you're having any symptoms of alcoholic neuropathy, don't wait. Talk to your doctor or a healthcare professional.
Absolutely. Early intervention can really make a huge difference. And remember, you're not alone in this. There are resources and support systems out there to help you along the way.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into alcoholic peripheral neuropathy. We'll see you next time.